Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining us today for this webinar. It's all about the latest trends in marketing for accountants and frankly, for any small business. Now, if you've not met me before, we've got a lot of new people in today's webinar. A little bit of background. I'm MC Carter, that's my nickname, MC. My mother calls me Michael, and I'm the founder of Practice Paradox, and we specialize in helping accountants and now also your small business clients with the very latest in digital marketing strategy, content and technology. I've been a little bit of a serial entrepreneur over the years, having founded software companies, medical device companies. I even have patents to my name. Don't hold that against me, you can't bank patents. But I was the co-founder of Business Fitness in 2001. If you're not familiar with them, Business Fitness, great bunch of people. They are the people behind not only How Now, which is paperless office templates, but also the annual study, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly of the Accounting Profession, which is a benchmarking study. So I was a co-founder there in 2001, but in 2010, I founded Paradox because I saw a sea of change happening in the business world in general, in the digital landscape. Blogging was starting to become a business tool, so was social media, and most small business wasn't using it back then. But I saw an incredible opportunity for knowledge-based businesses, so accountants, business advisors, any service-based businesses to really harness these technologies and be early movers in that space. And frankly, it's still early days in this space. So we were a pioneer in this whole modern marketing for accountant space. First people on the planet to talk to accountants about social media, blogging, and so on. Second person on the planet, behind Rick Telberg of CPA Trendlines, to talk to accountants about the value of niching and focusing. So we teach the inch wide, mile deep focus, and we practice it ourselves. That's a quote from Herman Simon, the author of Hidden Champions. He's an Austrian professor. He's also an expert on value pricing, absolute guru. But inch wide in our focus and mile deep. So it's really important for me to just reiterate that we're not practice management consultants. There's plenty of those out there already, and they're generalists like your GP, your family doctor. They're across a lot of things, but in the area of marketing, they only go to 1/10th, maybe even 1/20th of the depth that we go to. And the value and the rubber hits the road when you go into specificity around marketing, not just talking about it. Now, recently, we've also moved into helping accountants open up a dialogue with your small business clients about other metrics. So the core metrics, which are financial and are also by their very nature lag measures, their results, they're clearly important. But business owners want to know how they're tracking on their lead indicators, which produce the results. So the activity KPIs, and often those lead indicators are marketing related, sales related, operations related. And there's an incredible opportunity for the modern accountants and business advisors to open up the conversation and the scope of metrics that you speak with your clients about. And not only will that increase your relevance to them as a business advisor, it's really in your sweet spot, in your happy place, to quote Rebecca White from Consolidate, who presented with me yesterday. By the way, if you're wondering where I am today, I'm in Sydney, not in our office today. I presented at a CPA presentation, which was all about the future of technology and how it is affecting firms. That these metrics, they're numbers. So you're analytical, you're great with numbers, and there's this whole raft around digital marketing that's an exciting conversation to have. And your business clients will actually love the fact that you're talking to them about how they're actually going to improve their top line and their bottom line, not just report on the past. So we've got a platform to enable people to do that. So what is the modern marketing? Yes, it's content-driven marketing. And it's one thing to talk about content-driven marketing. It's another thing to know sound strategy, which is upstream from bothering to create content. And then once you've got a clear strategy, how to create content that will attract to you your ideal clients, because you do not want to attract just anyone. You want very specific content that's targeting specific people. And that's one of the great things about digital marketing. And today we're looking at the latest trends in that. But as an advisor, your clients look up to you. Well, certainly they should. And they do when you educate them. You become, in their eyes, a leader that is teaching them how to go to a better place. So blogging is crucial. In our presentation yesterday, So I interviewed Rebecca White of Consolidate, who in Australia are the current Accounting Zero Partner of the Year. Rebecca is their business development manager. And she said, by the way, can I just have a quick show of hands? Who's got a website? And not everyone's hand went up. And then another show of hands, who's got a blog? Holy cow. It was barely even 10% of the room. It's probably 5%. Man, not only should your website have a blog, your website content should predominantly be on your blog, meaning over time, you'll end up with 80, 90% of the content or more on your website's entirety will be blog posts. And I won't go into any further on that now, but blogging is crucial and you need to fund it and resource it and do it. Now, social media is also really important, but social media in and of itself is not enough. If you go to a social media consultant, and you've got to be very careful in this space because it's full of a lot of cowboys, let's say, where they go to a course, a 3-day course, and then the next thing you know, they're calling themselves a social media expert. But to a social media expert, the answer to growing your business and the answer to improving your marketing is always just social media. They're very narrow in their view. It's like to a hammer, everything looks like a nail, or to a surgeon, the answer is usually going to be surgery. To us, social media has a very specific role, which is to send targeted traffic to your website. Also, a really exciting area now is marketing automation. So marketing automation enables you to, the theme of my presentation yesterday at the CPA conference was putting your growth on autopilot. A friend of mine is a pilot for Qantas, and he flies the A380s, currently the world's largest passenger jets. Blows my mind the level of responsibility that entails. But there's autopilot on these incredible pieces of technology, which is super cool. But autopilot doesn't mean you don't need a pilot. It doesn't mean it does all of it. It does aspects of the flight automatically. And same with your marketing. There are things that you can do in your marketing. For example, once you have a great blog and it's attracting traffic, meaning people coming and they're finding it in Google or social media, and then people are reading that blog, they're being impressed, they're being educated, you're creating cognitive dissonance, which means newfound learning and beliefs in the reader's mind, so they want to take action and they want to implement what you're talking about in the article. That will grow your email marketing database, and then you have systems, it's basically software, that will send targeted and well-timed information to them in an automated way while you sleep. So marketing automation is something that every business owner needs to embrace, whether you're an accountant, whether you're a business advisor, or whether you're in any small business. It's a super high value area. Now, why this topic today? Look, in the benchmarking surveys, like the good, the bad, and the ugly that Business Fitness does each year, growth is always up there as one of the top 5 challenges. So for 7 of those years, it's been the #1 challenge. And many firms are now starting to focus on selling, your additional value add services. But, it's one thing to be able to deliver those services and have the skills and have the apps and the tools and the processes. But in the area of non-compliance, you don't get to deliver what you never learned to sell. And marketing is selling. Now, today I'm going to share with you also some insights into our next masterclass, which is structured around 3 themes of market, sell, deliver. And they're like 3 links in a chain that you need to be good at attracting your ideal clients in the first place, using the latest technology. Then you need a good sales process to bring them on board, not just as a client, but as a high client share client that does a lot of advisory with you. And then on the deliver side of things, you need to have all of your data flowing through and all of your processes to onboard and get them started well. Now, there was a software company presenting a session yesterday at the conference, and they brought up this very same statistic about, in the good, bad, ugly, 84% of firms surveyed feel that to survive, so not to prosper, but just to survive, they must provide advisory services beyond compliance. And really, for any small business, you are at a disadvantage if you don't embrace digital marketing. I see it all the time, particularly when you do searches on mobile, and we'll talk about mobile search today, where you see even local businesses, restaurants, hardware stores, a local service provider like an optometrist. Being in the field that we're in, we can see that they are missing some really important links in their chain with their digital marketing. And for their competitors who are savvy and competent and implementing the latest in digital marketing, they are losing out. So today's about helping you realize where the ripples and the waves are happening so that your business can actually get on the right side of those waves and ride with them and not be swamped by change. So first of all, let's get an idea of where you're at as a group in terms of who's who in the room with your marketing activity level. Just a quick poll. I'd just like to know, what is your firm's marketing activity level? So grab your mouse or touchpad and let us know. Answer one of those options. You do no marketing, you do very little marketing, you do some marketing, or you do a lot of marketing. So quickly answer that. I like to keep going till we get about 78% of people voting. Then I'll close the poll and share the results. Let's have a look. Okay, so I'm looking on I'm in a hotel room today and I'm using my iPad as a second monitor using an app called AirDisplay. Very cool. So 14% are not doing any marketing, 33% doing very little. So what's that? 47%, let's call it half, are basically doing very little or no marketing. And wow, almost half again are just doing some marketing, and only 1 in 10 of you is doing a lot of marketing. Now, no matter where you are on that spectrum of none, very little, some, or a lot, you'll be able to get moving, or if you're already moving, get proper traction and results. And I'll share with you some examples of firms that we've helped at various stages on that. So on screen now, you can see those results. And let's now look at your intention very quickly. What's your firm's intended marketing activity level for the coming day? Let me just bring up my poll number 2 and launch that poll. So what's your intention with your marketing activity level for the coming year? You're going to keep it the same, which for half of you might be a concern. You can do more or you can do less. It does happen that sometimes when you're growing strongly, you need to take your foot off the pedal. I've experienced that personally in a number of ventures and have seen that happen in firms that we've advised as well. So let's see. Yep, we've got over 80% of you have voted. Let's share those results. 89%, so 9 out of 10 of you are going to do more. No one's going to do less. And 17% are going to keep it where it's at. So I gather they're the ones on the higher spectrum. Now, marketing to me is, when you get good at it, it is the equivalent, I think, of modern day alchemy. And if you remember from your history books or any documentaries you may have seen over time, alchemists back in the Middle Ages tried to create precious things like gold out of everyday substances. And it was actually the start of what became chemistry. And to me, marketing allows you to take a business. Now, if you're sound in your operations and you deliver value and you've got the basics in place, marketing can, without you innovating in spectacular ways in your business, take that very same business and in the course of 12 months, double it, triple it. You might not want to grow that fast, but it utterly transforms a business. Like when I was at Business Fitness, first 5 years there, I was in charge of the technology, because I've got a technology background. I've got degrees in industrial design and product development. And when one of my fellow co-founders left Business Fitness to go off and start another consulting venture, I took over the marketing. And just applying digital marketing, we more than tripled the revenue of Business Fitness with 5 fewer salespeople. So we reduced overheads by $1 million in just direct Salesforce costs. And we used digital marketing, content-driven marketing, blogging, emails, and webinars, and yeah, more than tripled revenue. And did the product improve by a factor of 300%? No, it didn't. It kept improving. So marketing is an incredibly powerful thing for you to harness and also to point your business clients in the right direction. So we'll look at the 10 trends today as they apply to accountants, advisors, and small business in general. We'll look at some real world examples, let you know about the Masterclass coming up. And it's on the Sunshine Coast north of Brisbane in Queensland, Australia, from the 29th of November to the 1st of December. 3-day event, more about that later. And I want to make sure that you're crystal clear on the super early bird deadline, because that will save you $1,000 per ticket on a 3-day event, and we'll have questions at the end. So you'll notice in the top left-hand corner of your screen in Zoom, there's a Q&A button. That's where I'd like you, as we go through these trends, to ask your questions, and Zoom will queue them up for me to go through them at the end. You can use chat for minor things if you're having any little AV details, but use the Q&A button to ask questions you'd like us to answer. Some we might answer live in Q&A at the end by talking about them. Others, if it's a quick answer, one of the Paradox team might just answer you directly. So use that button. All right, let's get into it, shall we? So trend number one, digital, goes without saying. So in terms of digital marketing, being measurable, interactive marketing using the latest technologies, really, digital marketing is a bit of a buzzword. And today, marketing really is digital marketing. Doesn't mean that there isn't other offline forms of marketing, but by and large, marketing is now digital. And we all need to accept that. If you get a referral today, let's say one of your clients this morning, speaking to a work colleague or a friend or a parent at school drop-off, whatever it might be, and the conversation came up of an area of their business or financial life, and your client said to them, oh, you should go and see John, Jane. They're really great. The problem with that, you don't actually know what they're going to say. But what are the chances of that person who's just heard about you Googling you? Pretty damn high. It would be a very small percentage of people that don't. And when they Google you, they won't just find necessarily your website. There's social media presence across LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Google+, Instagram, Flickr, Pinterest, Snapchat even these days, and your blog RSS feed, which those icons stand for there. And the point here is that you don't need to be across all of it. You need to have a very clear strategy of who you're trying to reach, what you're trying to provide, the value to them, and then pick a handful of channels across digital to really use well. And if you try to spread yourself across them all, that is a mistake. But we need to all just wake up and smell this coffee, because it's a fact. You are who Google says you are. If someone goes online and searches and sees some bad reviews of you, which is happening more and more these days, online reviews used to be relevant mainly for retail, hospitality, and tourism sectors. Now, Google reviews are happening left, right, and center. And in fact, you should be encouraging Google reviews to your client base. That's one of the tasks within Implementer, by the way, for those of you who subscribe to our platform for implementing digital marketing, is to ask a number of your clients to review you in Google, because you need currently the numbers 4 Google reviews to even appear in the Google Places. You know where the map is when you're searching Google for a business, and there's the organic or free search results down the bottom. There's paid results on the side and across the top. But you know where that map is, where the first few, if you don't have at least 4 reviews in Google, you're hidden away. So we all need to embrace that when people Google, what they find is their first impression of you. If you're not on the page 1 of Google, you're pretty much an undercover operation. Aman Barani, who leads our SEO team, cracked me up when I first heard him say, where's a good place to hide a dead body? On page 2 of Google, because no one will ever look there. And do you know what's even truer now is you need to be top 3 in Google. So top 3 search results, the top 3 in the top 10. So top 10 is cool, page 1 of Google, but you want to be top 3. And within the top 3, number 1 gets about 70% of the clicks that the top 3 gets. So it's diminishing returns, or conversely, accelerating returns to be 3, 2, and 1. Next question that you need to ask is, but what for? Not for your brand name, not for accountant or whatever business type you are and your suburb necessarily, but specific phrases about specific topics for specific people. This is a screenshot. I'll zoom up on this in a moment. Now, for those of you who have access to Implementer, and by the way, if you're not yet a Paradox member, all Paradox members have access to the Implementer platform, which is a step-by-step interactive implementation checklist and system for putting in place digital marketing. But a hugely important area is the reports area. And this is called the keyword ranking report in the Implementer platform. And I'll just zoom up to a larger screenshot of that up the top of the screen. So see the bar chart there. The blue is 1 to 3. So you're the top 3 in Google for a specific phrase. Green is 4 to 15, then 16 to 30, 31 to 99. And if I scroll down the page, in Implementer, you can enter up to 30 phrases that you want to dominate in Google. And the nice thing is, following Blue Ocean Strategy, one of the books that we recommend on strategy, and the metaphor with Blue Ocean Strategy is the ocean is really, really big. And there are a lot of patches of just nice, calm blue ocean, and you can take your patch and own it rather than thrashing about in the bloodied waters of competition, which is what most businesses do, where, for example, with accounting and advisory firms targeting small business sector, along with the other 10,000 firms just in Australia alone doing that, and saying we're better, we're more professional, we're more caring, yada, yada. Everyone's saying the same stuff. That's a recipe for struggle. A recipe to win in business is to do a flanking strategy or a niching strategy. So I've blurred out details here on the left if you're thinking your eyes are playing up. We've blurred out identifying information, but in that keyword column are the phrases that this firm has entered. And over time, you want to get as many of these rows as possible into green and then blue. And each column there is a week. So that firm's been going, you can see that column that says no data, that was their very first week. So very, very important that you know what you want to dominate. I'll just sprinkle through some examples today of some of our poster children, if you like, the firms that we've helped from them being in the dark with marketing, feeling paralyzed, was Steph Hines from GrowthWise when she first worked with us. And a year after working with us, she was Zero Partner of the Year in Australia. She's doubled her revenue each year for 5 years in a row now. She's about a 10-person firm, maybe 11 now. Everyone in the firm is chargeable. And they list us when they turn 5. It was wonderful to see Steph send out a happy birthday to us email in their email newsletter, and they listed out who they'd like to thank. And they listed me and Paradox as the #1 influence on their success, because Steph was going from driving around at night. These are Steph's words. When we started working with her, she said, I've got 2 part-time staff and I'm scraping by at the moment by having dinner with my friends at their house and then doing tax returns after dinner. So that's where she was. And now she's an absolutely stellar firm. Consolidate, who I mentioned earlier, Brisbane-based firm, they were already really active when they came to us, but they were frustrated that they were spending money on digital marketing, but they weren't getting traction. And they'd noticed that out of the last 4 Zero Partners of the Year in Australia, 3 of them had been guided and advised by Paradox. And Tanya, on the first call, she said, look, I want to help with 2 things. I want to win Zero Partner of the Year, and I want our marketing to work. There's something missing. So she didn't know what that was, but the return on investment wasn't there. So clearly something was missing. And what we did is we helped them get really clear on their strategy, and we've introduced more metrics and accountability in their marketing. They've got incredible and easy to measure collection of metrics that they look at each week, each month, and it's just like steering a ship to a destination. So they're really smashing it out of the park now. And until they had strategy, they're kind of just spinning their wheels. So trend #1's obvious, right? Digital. Let's delve into some more detailed ones. Mobile. Now, not only do most firms not have a well-designed website, but they don't have ones that work well on mobile. And things are changing just in the last 6 months here. So now more searches, this has been the case for a little while now, that more searches are done on mobile devices, smartphones and tablets, than on desktops and laptops. And most emails are read on mobile devices these days. Now, Google favors mobile-friendly websites, but they've upped the game even more. They've released a new standard. This is a bit techie, don't worry, but your propeller heads might like this. That your web developers need to know this, is there's now a new standard for a lighter, faster loading code, HTML, called Accelerated Mobile Pages, or AMP for short. And if your website conforms to these standards, it'll load 30 times faster than a standard website on a mobile device. So if you're not implementing that in your business, wow, you're at a disadvantage. Now, Google knows this. When they crawl your website, they index it, they go, okay, that conforms to AMP, and they will push it up the Google rankings when people search on mobile. So your business no matter what type of business you're in, is at a distinct disadvantage if you're not optimizing your website for viewing on a mobile. Doesn't mean you ignore the normal desktop view, but it's got to work incredibly well on mobile. Now, in Implementer, there's a whole section on your digital presence and expanding your digital presence, and it's got a number of little tasks for you to do, or for you to delegate to, for example, your SEO team, if you're using our SEO team, or you've got another SEO team. There's a whole list of little techie tasks that if you don't do them, you're at a disadvantage. And none of the tasks is difficult. For example, Google has a tool, and there's a link from this in Implementer, where you can paste in your website into a tool to see how well and fast your site loads on a mobile. And if you're not getting a score of 85 or greater on that, you've got an issue. Or should we reframe that to you have an opportunity to improve it? So mobile is essential. Now this links to the next trend of local, but before I go there, another thing that's huge at the moment in search is voice. If you've ever, raise your hand if you ever use voice activation, like, okay, Google, or Siri on your phone. Just do a little raise hand if you use it. When I was presenting my last masterclass, someone must have had their iPhone on automatically hearing the Siri thing, and it kicked in when I said a phrase that sounded like that, which was amusing to us all. But anyway, because people are searching by just talking, you now need to have keyword phrases that are more conversational. Because when people are typing search, they might type in, you know, accountant for cafe. But when they're talking, there might be, show me accountants for cafes in New South Wales. And it's a different phrases. So they're longer phrases and they're much more conversational words. So your SEO team needs to be savvy to voice, to optimize and improve your Google rankings. Now let's just take a step back. Raise your hand again if you know, and thank you to everyone who raised their hand just before, if you know what your website traffic is each month. Just click raise your hand. Not many hands going up. Few people there. Okay, good. Now, very few people raised, actually 2 people yesterday raised their hand at the conference in our presentation, and one of them said, yep, I know what it is, it's 0, which gave everyone a laugh. But if your website traffic currently, in terms of unique visitors, is measured in the hundreds, it's not enough to get your list growing enough each month. It needs to be measured in the thousands. And firms that we work with have that. We can see it in Implementer. You know, some of the examples that I've shown you already, Consolidate, Growthwise, I'll show you Advise in a moment, Otium. Their website's 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 a month. That's where you need to get to. And it's a straightforward process for us to guide you on that. So with local SEO implementation, before I talked about reviews, there's also in your Google My Business. Now, virtually no one in the room yesterday. So here's a room of business advisors at a technology conference for business advisors. I think almost no one in the room raised their hand for knowing how to access their Google My Business account and having fully completed it. So Google My Business is the information that you can tell Google about your business. And part of it is verifying your physical address. And if you haven't done that, you're not going to do very well when people are searching on their devices. So Google knows where they are, and they'll serve up results that are in the local area. So local SEO implementation is really important. There are things you can do on your website, and there's things you do on other sites like Google My Business and other citations or listings in local business directories. So really, you've got to get right on top of that. And in Implementer, in the establish and expand your digital presence section, we've got all of the tasks listed out there for you to do it. And really, any area of business, a lot of it's not glamorous. Marketing, people think marketing is all about creativity. These days, it's more about pragmatism and data and specificity. And if you're a director or principal in the firm, you think, oh man, I just can't be bothered with all this detail. That's why you outsource or you train up a team member to do it. But whether it's you, whether it's a team member, whether it's an outsourced contractor like Paradox that you collaborate with, either way, this stuff needs to get done. And as a business advisor, you need to be talking to your business clients about this sort of thing. Otherwise, you're not really highly relevant. So in this example here, NBC, they're They're a firm, I'll just go back there. They're a firm in Orange, New South Wales, that we do their blogging for and that we do SEO for. And you can see they're listed #1 in that places area at the top there. And that is a huge difference in the number of clicks through and the number of people that come to your website. Next trend is one where I think it's incredibly exciting time to be in the type of business that you're in, where there are certain aspects like management advice, KPI monitoring, the future-focused management accounting. So not tax and very specific jurisdiction-related compliance stuff. Clearly, that's always related to your country that you're in and state. But there are great opportunities now to go beyond your geographical constraints. And you don't need to be constrained. So firms are going national within niches for starters. They don't have to go international. But often we deal with regional firms. And in the past, regional firms, whether they're coastal or inland, would think, okay, we can only focus on drive time areas. No way. People don't care where you are if you position yourself as an authority. You could be on one side of the continent and someone's on the other side. And if they've come along your conveyor belt of influence, which is our term for multiple interactions and touch points where they've read articles, they've seen videos, they've come to webinars, they'll work with you no matter where you are because they can use technology like this. So firms are now accidentally, it seems, sometimes it's accidentally, attracting international clients. And Xero Books is a spin-off firm from an accounting firm. So Pool Group was Xero Partner of the Year about 2013, I think. And they saw an opportunity, Greg Tuckwell there, saw an opportunity to start a bookkeeping business with a global focus, a highly scalable focus, doesn't go anywhere near tax, and it just is like a white labeled bookkeeping service for accounting firms to use. And so they pick up clients that are worth $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 or more through their online digital presence. And on screen there is an email that Greg received from the CFO of a global aviation academy with locations in Australia, England, Spain, Dubai, Malaysia, Montenegro. It's very exotic. And let me know if you could be our global bookkeeping/payroll service provider. Pick me. So Greg's email through to us was automated marketing at its best. Hashtag conference in Montenegro. Greg's a character. So this is happening. Now, if it's happening for others, it can happen for you. Why not? It's only a matter of how. Now you might say, I don't want any international clients. Well, that's cool. But even within your country, you can start to get clients from areas that previously, traditionally, you might have thought were too far away and not relevant. So social media, let's face it, it's no longer new or novel. I think I've been using Twitter since 2008, 2009. When we first started talking at conferences to accountants about it, people going, what the? MC, accountants don't need to be using Twitter and social media, that's for the kids. Well, it's essential. It's just another channel of communication. To me, it's just like email, just like telephone, and it is essential. If you don't use it, well, you're taking a risk. At the very least, you should be listening and monitoring. And there are apps out there that you can use to alert you when someone mentions your brand name or your Twitter name in social media like Twitter or Facebook, or they like your page, or they do a comment, or they like a post in LinkedIn. And rather than have to look around 7 different places, you can use an app like, say, Sendable, and you can monitor mentions, and you can monitor specific keywords and phrases that are mentioned. For example, if you Google marketing for accountants, we're all over that with our Google rankings, not surprisingly, that being our inch-wide, mile-deep niche. And so we monitor mentions of that phrase. And in that monitor screen in Sendable, we can see when people are tweeting about it. So we see, for example, when conferences are calling for papers or presenters. And, I've picked up speaking gigs around the world by listening in on social to the topics that matter. Same applies to you. And you can use digital technology to do it. Most firms fail really badly at social for a number of reasons. You'll go along to some annual conference junket on a tropical island somewhere, and they will have flown in some speaker who you're never going to see again after the conference, and they'll say, you've got to do social media, and you'll get all excited, and you'll start a few social media accounts, and some of the accounts might even use it after the conference is finished, and then very quickly, the activity level dies away because what firms tell me is they think, well, are we getting results? Like, I really don't see the point. You know, there's time, there's effort. I'm flat out keeping up with my email inbox and my phone messages. Do I really need some more inboxes to monitor? And so they fail, they give up. Very, very common. The reason they fail is multi-fold. Firstly, it's strategy. You know, who are you targeting? If you don't have very clear buyer personas and target markets and specialties in mind, don't bother using social, because you're just going blah, blah out there with all the other firms and all the other small businesses in your sector saying the same things. And then you need to be taught how to use it strategically. You know, it's not about promotion and telling everyone how good you are. It's about conversations. It's about being helpful. It's about engaging with others. But you need to stick to the course. Don't dabble. You never got, I don't know if you've ever dabbled in a sport or any skill, you won't get any good at it. So we can guide you on the strategy, though, to get a match between which social platforms are a good fit for who you're targeting. But that strategy at the outset really is the key to it. Now, here's the metric again. This is why you use social media. You can drive targeted traffic to your website. Now, targeted traffic jargon just means ideal prospects who are searching on those phrases that you've listed out in Implementer as the ones that you want to rank well for in Google. Social is excellent just on Google rankings and traffic alone. Now, the report that you look at is the analytics summary in Implementer, and you can see of the website traffic, apart from the volume of traffic, the graph at the top, you can see the sources of the traffic. So are people coming to your website doing it by organic, which basically just means naturally, free? They're searching. So they found you in Google. Or are they coming directly? Or are they coming from referrals, links from other sites? Or are they coming from social? One of the firms that we interviewed recently, Drew Grosskreutz from Otium Group on the Sunshine Coast, we looked in his report and we saw that social at one point for them was like 2% of their traffic. And the next time I was speaking to Drew, I said, what are you guys doing with social at the moment? You're not driving any traffic to your website out of social. And he said, oh, that's a good point. We've dropped the ball there, really. We've been really busy. We've been growing. We've been taking on new staff. The team member that was handling social went and had a baby, isn't working at the moment. So it stopped. I looked in there the other day and their traffic from social now is closer to about 16, 18%. Why does that matter? That's hundreds more people to their website because they got active again in social. So you can greatly expand your reach. If you think, you know, build it and they will come, from that Kevin Costner Field of Dreams baseball movie, very whimsical movie, it doesn't happen. So social media is a way of, yeah, helping others, engaging in conversation, but the metric is traffic through to your website. And then you'll grow your marketing database because people will, if you've got good content on your website, you've got good conversion tools for them to download ebooks or other information where they'll enter their email and automatically go into your CRM and your email broadcast and your marketing automation system, all of which we can show you how to do with tools like ActiveCampaign or Infusionsoft. Social is super valuable. And it's really great for networking with centers of influence and joint venture partners. We call them niche portals. So people who could introduce you, if you collaborated with them, to a lot of people in of particular types and different niches. But, you know, even just learning in social media, it's a great source for learning. If you connect to the right people and follow the right people in LinkedIn and Twitter, and don't just, you know, go crazy and go for volume, you get a never-ending stream of really useful content that you can learn from. Because in business, we all know things are changing fast. It's also really easy to keep an eye on what your competitors are doing. You know, that keyword research I mentioned and brand mentions, doesn't have to be just your brand that you're tracking. You can track mentions. Oh, by the way, I didn't even mention earlier, with that keyword tracking report that's in the Implementer platform of ours, you can enter 3 competitors as well. So on the drop down, by default, it shows your website, but you can enter 3 other competitors and see how they're ranking on the phrases that you're targeting. And if they're outranking you, our SEO team can reverse engineer and work out why that is. So if you're savvy to this, it's easy to outcompete. And look, social is crucial in recruiting. You know, the millennials coming through, and frankly, anyone these days, if you're thinking, oh, I wouldn't mind working for such and such, again, you are who Google says you are. And if a firm's website hasn't changed much, which is common if you don't have a properly resourced marketing machine, well then they're not going to learn much there. So they'll have a look. They'll look at your LinkedIn profile. They'll look at your work history. They'll see what they can learn, and they'll see if they're impressed by you. You know, do you have a team and culture that looks appealing to them? And, you know, at the end of the day, you do want to generate leads, of course. Okay, so here's a screenshot. Last time I ran this topic, I just dropped a line, a direct message. So it's like a private message in Twitter to Steph Hines of GrowthWise, and said, you know, what's the latest with how many leads you're getting from social media? And she said, look, you know, it varies, but they get 4 inquiries a week through their website and 2 phone-ins. And those people have come to their website in the first place through social or referral or a combination thereof. But at one point, a few years ago, Steph was getting 24 new leads a month directly, just straight out of social. So it's worth doing. Another firm that we have guided and got them started, they came to us when they were really confused. They were in this coaching club that was giving them advice out of the 1990s, like go and buy a list and spam the universe. And he's a digital native. He's very just savvy to the modern ways. And in one of our first conversations, he said, MC, is that right? Should I go and buy a list? I'm not allowed to email him, am I? I go, no, you're not. It's illegal if they haven't opted in. There's this thing called the Spam Act, or in the US, the Anti-Spam Act. And apart from being illegal, it's just, I think, impolite and rude. It's what Seth Godin calls interruption marketing. He wrote a great book years ago called Permission-Based Marketing, where you market to people who said, yes, please, I like you, which is this whole approach of digital. And so, you know, they're really smashing it. When Ben came to us, his one partner firm, Harvey Penne has now joined him in the firm, so they're now a 2-partner firm. But he went through our academy, and the academy content is now coming across into our implemented platform. And they're Fast Growth Award-winning firm, and their list grows by up close to 100. Some months they get 100 new opt-ins in their email database because they drive so much traffic to their site out of social. Now, let me just check how we're tracking on time, because Zoom here is just covering up a couple of things. Okay. All right, trend number 6 on the branding. You know, is your presence the equivalent of a baggy, crumpled suit or outfit? You know, the first impressions in business, they really matter. And design does matter. So firms are getting savvy to this. Younger generations of firms, they're abandoning the old traditional, let's just pick, you know, our surnames and add and partners and associates or whatever to the end of it. And so they're thinking through, okay, what is our brand message? What are our values? And what are we about? And they're investing in branding. Now, branding is a lot more than a logo and colors. That's a subset of it. But your branding is the sum total of the interactions that people have with your business. And look, that is part of it. So look, it's really important. And firms are starting to be a bit more daring on that front. And you've got to invest in design. Like, just don't look amateur, don't look rubbish. And if you're thinking, gee, I don't know if we look amateur or rubbish, you probably do if you're unaware of it, because a lot of people have a lack of awareness around it. And that's part of our role, is to sometimes tell you if your baby is ugly, which I spoke about in last Friday's beer storming video over on our Facebook page, where a firm came to us. They just had this logo designed from a service out of the States that I could tell was then outsourcing it to other lower cost countries. And the colors were dated. The design looked 10, 15 years old to me already. And it's a waste of time, because your logo and your colors are like the seed of all your collateral. You can't have a great looking website if the essence of your logo and colors just looks rubbish. So just some examples on that front. Here are some firm names. Now, if you Google branding for accountants, you'll find our professionalism paradox blog post about this. So on the left, there are firms there that have got more modern sort of names: Advise Accountants, Change Accountants, Get a Life, Next, Revive, and they're all names that we came up with. Other firms, GrowthWise, Inspire, Maze, Quantum, Zero Books, also firms we work with, but they came up with their names. But if they were named traditionally, They'd be boring as, I won't say that word, they'd be boring as the proverbial. And then, once you got a modern name, invest in modern logo design. Like, we did the logos there. When I say we act as a hub. We have Paradox preferred partners that we refer you to for logo design, website content, because they're specialist areas. There are logos that our preferred partners have designed over time there. One we featured recently, Antoinette Palmer, that's her current website, Antoinette Palmer, and you can see my conversation with Antoinette on our YouTube channel. That's just youtube.com/Practice Paradox. And when Antoinette came to us, the problem was she'd spent money on Google advertising, AdWords, and spent thousands of dollars on it, but was getting a lot of low-value inquiries because the people that were doing it were non-strategic. They were targeting, accountant, and then the location of the firm. It's just a recipe for really low-quality leads. So Antoinette had lots and lots of very low-value clients, and she's now turned the corner. But the example here is this is the design that our Paradox preferred partner, Bianca Schulman, has done for the firm when they rebrand as Embrace Accountants. And that looks as good as any accounting firm on the planet. Really unique color palette that's modern and fresh, but it's distinctive. So look, invest in design. It's a false economy not to. Here's an example I shared yesterday when I was talking about the concept of attracting and converting. Advise accountants from Bathurst, sole practitioner. On the right there, you'll see when they came to us, the average new client engagement was about $2,800, and they learned how to do content, digital-driven marketing, and they now attract firms that want advisory, whereas before Matt was really frustrated that people would come to him just wanting compliance. And he was doing the old school approach that some coaches and consultants teach you. Get them on board and you can use our needs review checklist or cross-selling checklist later and upsell them. That approach tends not to work. What works better is attracting people who want advisory, which is what your marketing does. And then when they come on board, they start with quite a full suite of your services from day one. So his average client engagements now is 8 to 10,000. And last calendar year, he added $1.2 million to $100,000 a month in recurring revenue in advisory alone, which is why he used a phrase when we were talking on the phone, MC, we're growing and I'm not even trying. Now, that jumped out at me as a phrase because what he means now is he's now growing on autopilot because all of the effort that he'd done in his branding and his message, like his new website, again, that we did with him through Bianca, it's not talking about, tax. Sure, that's in there, but it's talking about, measure the scorecard, advise the playing field, grow the end game. So they're all about not just keeping the score, but helping the clients win at the game of business. So it's a really strong message to growth-oriented small businesses. And you can see my conversation with Matt on our YouTube channel as well, by the way. That's a screenshot of it at the bottom there. All right, so niching. I'll fly through this because this is the cornerstone. Focus-based strategy is what is required to stand out with digital marketing. And, it's a fundamental part. Doesn't mean you have to choose an industry niche, but you need to become renowned for something. You can't be a generalist and expect to excel because generalists are thrashing about in the bloodied waters of competition with all the other generalists that can help any type of business and do dozens of different types of services and don't say no to anyone. Yes, we can do that. Yes, we can do that. So have the courage to specialize and use a focus strategy. We teach you this in more detail rather than a differentiation strategy. The unique selling proposition approach of, we're better and we're different doesn't work. What works better is positioning, which is not saying you're superior. It's just explaining the specific things you do for specific people. So you don't have to use any superlatives and fig jam yourself. Some of you probably know what that means. So, go inch wide, mile deep. Apart from the marketing advantages, the operational advantages are strong. You get really damn good at doing half a dozen things rather than spreading your team across 36 different things. Now, these principles apply to any business whatsoever, not just accounting and advisory, but any small business. You will actually, you need to limit yourself to leverage yourself. You need to succeed by doing less, not more. Some examples here. These guys are super niched. On our blog, you'll see an article I wrote about 6 degrees of niching. So super niching is boots and all. Everything is dedicated to the niche, the name, the logo, the messaging, and you don't have to do that. Like that's at one extreme of 6 degrees of niching. This firm here, McGraw and Schwadron, they ran through our educational program, and they picked a couple of niches to go after: dentists and vets, and also startups was like their third one. But that allowed them to become renowned within theirs. But again, it doesn't have to be business type. Zero Books, who I mentioned earlier, specialized by really limiting their service offering to very specific. They'll only work with businesses that are using Xero, and their business model is all geared to, we're behind the scenes. We don't communicate with your clients, but we help you gain capacity and get through it. So very, very focused. Trend number 8 on the pricing. If you've read any of Ron Baker's stuff, you'd have to agree that value pricing just makes sense. You've got to sell value. You don't sell time. Selling time is illogical. People buy value, they buy outcomes. Now, I'm not going to go on about that now, but very quickly, don't use the phrase fixed price agreements. It's just about pricing and scoping upstream from pricing. Okay, if you want us to do this, it costs X, whether you're client A, B, or C. So, go transparent with your pricing. I don't agree with Ron Baker talks about price the client. In my view, that's extortion. That's the sort of things that in my neck of the woods in Queensland, the tow truck drivers, it's being legislated against, just as a quick analogy. They were charging people more if it was an expensive car, if someone parked in sort of a clearway, no standing zone, and so they towed off their car and had it locked up. If someone had a high-end Mercedes or BMW, the firm would charge them, or the tow trucking company would charge them more because they've got an expensive car. Oh, that's pricing the client. They can afford more. That's BS in my view. So go transparent and treat everyone equally. So service packages are becoming common. A lot of firms are doing that really badly. If you've got service packages on your website and they're either not working and converting for you, or they're attracting price-sensitive shoppers, I can tell you exactly why. It's because you're turning people into feature shoppers, not benefit buyers. You've got to talk about outcomes, not how many transactions you get and how many things that you do. You've got to sell the journey, not the work, because otherwise you're just emphasizing price. And people like Xero in their conferences have popularized the idea of having these service level packages, but if you don't do them well, they won't work. And the menu of services, likewise, a lot of coaches and consultants go on about that. You've got to have a menu of services, not the way most firms do it. You've got to have it really simple and not granular detail. You've got to have it like an infographic. We call it like a ways we work with you diagram, or a service infographic. And part of what we did with Advise, who I showed you briefly there, is say, get rid of that menu of services. It doesn't work. And let's work out what the journey is that you take your clients on across getting on the same page, getting the numbers right, understanding the numbers, business improvement, and family wealth creation. And their compliance and bookkeeping piece is just under the second part of getting the numbers right. But that's why he's more than tripled his new client engagement, because he sells that journey. And this is all crucial to digital marketing, because this is part of the message of what your content will educate people out there. So clearly compliance isn't dead, but gee, it's a bit sick. It's not going to go away. Tax keeps changing. Politicians keep changing legislation. So what is happening though is clearly margins are being eroded because of automation in some aspects of it, in the lower levels, and just outsourcing to low labour cost areas. But this labour arbitrage situation is going to end eventually. The middle class will become more of a global phenomenon. But firms are starting to treat compliance as a lost leader, because if you're doing their cloud-based bookkeeping, the accounts are in order. The days of having to, contend with the shoebox of receipts and statements from your clients should be a thing of the past. And it doesn't take a lot of work to lodge necessarily. So the lower end of compliance, firms are sometimes just bundling that in and going, yeah, we'll do that as part of what we do. But we only do that so that your numbers are up to date, so we can advise you each month or each quarter. But firms are struggling, even though 9 out of 10 firms state they want to sell more value-add, future-focused, non-compliant services. I call this the value add chasm. 9 out of 10 want to. Currently only 1 in 10 is. So 8 out of those 9 haven't learned how to sell value. And that's what we show you how to do. But it's not just about marketing and selling. It's about strategy and business model. You've got to make sure that your advisory services are things that you can scale. And you'll get to a point where advisory is the lead. It's not, tax and compliance and bookkeeping is your lead, and would you like this advisory stuff over here? Lead with the advisory, and yeah, of course we need to keep your data up to date. We'll do that as a given. And lastly, before we get to questions and a summary for you of the next masterclass, content marketing. So we were a little bit ahead of the curve. Okay, so you need to be producing this content, and don't do the boring, dry, technical stuff. Your goal is not to turn your clients into bookkeepers and tax agents and tax experts. They're paying you the big bucks to just look after that. There's very little marketing benefit. Don't write for your peers, write for your prospects. So I'll say that again, don't write for your peers and impress people with how knowledgeable you are with all of these different structures and get into details. Talk to them more about how they can develop their business or better organize and structure their affairs and finances. And then they'll want to implement those things. So the thought leadership content will make you a leader in their view, because your clients aren't following 10 different accountants in content. They'll be connected to you, and it's your goal to lead them and educate them. But people won't ask for leadership. They're silently begging for leadership. So you got to show leadership first, then people will follow. And they talk about followers in social media. That's what you end up with. And at the end of the day, sorry, I just saw Zoom struggling. At the end of the day, why do you want this? You want to get inbound, pre-educated leads. Inbound is nirvana. Inbound, they're coming to you. You're not reaching out. You're not having to go to those networking breakfasts or prospect people on LinkedIn. Like, seriously, save me. Your time is more valuable to be going cap in hand going, can we please do business? Can we please do business? Your marketing machine will attract people who are searching on certain topics. You'll get noticed, your presence will be there, and they'll read, they'll learn, they'll get educated and inspired. They'll come to you and be pre-educated, not just about the topics that you teach about, but about who you are, what makes you tick, what are your values and your passions. And they're really nice people to have conversations with. They convert faster. The sales process is therefore shorter, less labor intensive for you, and they'll start as a high client share client, like what Matt Sharwood's experiencing at Advise. And you'll reach that point where you're growing and you're not even trying. But all of these things are important. They have lead magnets, they're called, things that people can download on your website. Do webinars, use video. Consolidate shared yesterday how when they started doing video, they found it hard. They found it difficult to talk to the camera. Then they tried scripting it, that didn't work. And now they just talk to each other and film like an interview conversation. And they find that really good. So get some tips, check out Consolidate's YouTube channel. But you don't even have to show yourself on videos, you can do screencasts. So screencasts are just where you record something, could be slides, but it could be an app. You could show a tip on or a report out of Spotlight Reporting or Fathom or Futurely and be educating your business clients about important metrics they need to be tracking. But if you think, oh, look, I don't even want to do that, audio. If you can talk to someone and hold a good conversation, audio and podcasts can be great. And if you're not already surveying and quizzing people on a regular basis, you should be, because you learn, you grow your list, and you actually get segmented lists. So people that have certain challenges and struggles because they've told you when they did your survey or quiz. We can show you what tools to use there, like Typeform, FormStack, etc. And yeah, firms that are doing that really well, Zero Books, Rapsy, Griffiths, Consolidate. So it doesn't matter what type of business you're in. Now, we've had a few little tech glitches, and let me just bring up Q&A to see if there's any questions. And I'm just going to run through now for everyone. Masterclass, to make sure that you know about it and that you've got the date set aside and that you don't miss out on Super Early Bird if your intention is to join us. So this masterclass is not just marketing. It's about the market, sell, deliver. All three are crucial, which is why we're calling it a modern business masterclass. It's not just a marketing masterclass. It's about marketing, it's about selling, and it's about innovation. And importantly, it's about execution. So you can come to all 3 days if you want. If you can't come to, for example, day one, someone yesterday was saying, I can't come to day one. I've got something else that I'm going to on that day in Sydney, which is cool. You can come to days 2 and 3, or you could send team members to day one and you come to 2 and 3. But if you book to come to 2 days, the third day is complimentary. So there are the dates. It's a Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, 29th and 30th of November, and then the Friday, the 1st of December. And you can see on screen there, we're conducting this not in a CBD capital city, but it's in heaven, or otherwise known as the Sunshine Coast, where I moved to a few years ago. It's absolutely gorgeous beachside location. And it's really important to get time out of the operational whirlwind of your business and be able to think, be able to strategize, and to have time to do these things. You can't do it in the hurried day-to-day of your business. So if you go to practiceparadox.com.au/masterclass, you'll be able to read more information than I'm about to show you now. So day one, how to generate demand with the latest in modern marketing. So we're going to cover myths that people are following in their use of marketing that you need to forget about, the myth of the 3 ways to grow your business formula, why that is now old-fashioned and out of date, and you need a digital version of that. So we'll show you the marketing machine model and how to have a very pragmatic, measurable way to do your marketing across the different forms of content. But if you feel, oh, look, I'm already a guru in all the digital marketing, that's cool, because day 2 is about one of the highest value skills out there, and that is how to sell. And I know, because we survey clients on this on our website, or we survey accountants and advisors, most people have either never been formally trained in how to sell or haven't been trained in how to sell in the last 5 years. And if you haven't been, you don't know what you don't know. Selling is about psychology. It's about communication. It's about communicating value. It's knowing how to handle those questions like, what's your hourly rate? And, you know, all those sorts of seemingly price-focused things. But it's about process as well. So it's half art, half science. And together, Nikki Miklos Woodley and I will be stepping you through modern sales process, how to handle inquiries, how to set up a structured sales process, how to scope and price and engage using the latest tools such as Practice Ignition, which, by the way, I was speaking to Guy Pearce yesterday, the founder of Practice Ignition. It's such a great tool, not just for accountants and business advisors, but anyone who has a business that's service-based, that's geared around monthly recurring. Incredibly efficient. But in and of itself, it's just a tool. So we'll show you how to use that within the context of how to sell. And I've seen a lot of businesses and been in businesses that have been transformed with revenue growth by just learning some simple keys in how to sell. Now, day 3, I think, is an important capstone, because this failure to implement, FTI, you know, I get all these ideas and I don't implement. Well, why not? You've just got to learn how to execute. Execution, how to take your ideas and plans and prioritize them and realistically achieve them. Not all by yourself, but in a process with your team and with other resources. So we're going to start by talking about a new client onboarding, which is the segue out of selling, and look into how you go upstream and identify the leverage points in your business and in your client's business. So leverage points are the things that if you fix them, if you improve them, they would make the greatest positive difference with the least amount of time, money, and energy. So you may well want to come to all 3 days, or you can kind of mix and match with your team, depending on your current skills and your availability. Now, the pricing, if you're wondering. So on the left, we've got the per day ticket price. So the per day ticket price, the normal price, is, I'll talk in round numbers, $1,500. Plus, if you're in Australia, GST. Now, the super early bird per day is $1,997. So that's the per day ticket price. By the way, if you're a Paradox member, which means you subscribe to Implementer or one of our services like blog article service or SEO or email newsletter or social media updates, that means you're a member and you'll get a further 15% off, which is cool. But on the right is the 3-day ticket price. So the full price is going to be $3,000 once the early birds expire. Super early bird that is current is $2,000 plus, so $1,994 plus GST for the 3 days. So we've got a full guarantee on this. Now, for the first time ever, we're encouraging you as business advisors to bring your business clients, particularly service-based business clients. So whether they're in professional services or any knowledge-based, expertise-based, service-based business can totally embrace what we're teaching here, and it will strengthen your relationship. You can sit together with them, and that will start to open up and broaden and I think deepen the quality of the metrics that you discuss with your clients. We've got a 9 in 90 guarantee on Masterclass, which is simply if 90 days after Masterclass you haven't generated 9 times in revenue what you paid for your tickets, we'll give you your money back. So we're just confident that if you implement, you'll get results. On the website, you'll see some videos down the bottom. You know, people like Tanya Titman from Consolidate talking about why they come. They've come to our last 3 masterclasses, which is all of them since they made contact with us. And her belief is that just schedule masterclass into your calendar every year, because the timing of it, it's perfect for planning next year. So schedule it into your professional development. If you're a partner, bring people. Don't come on your own and then try to go back to your firm and try to convey not just the information, but the inspiration that you'll get. Comes a little team, a little cohort. I remember when GrowthWise came to our first masterclass, the 3 of them at the time drove from Newcastle to the Sunshine Coast and did a little masterclass road trip, because that's where they were in their business. Flights were kind of out of the question. They wanted a fun road trip. You can get here however you like. You'll also see Steph talking about the fact that, you know, what we're good at is giving you a structured process. It's not fluff. It's not marketing for pretty pictures. It's not just about social. It's not just about web. You get that holistic overall marketing machine approach, which allows you to control your focus. You know, people talk about being time poor. That's BS. We've all got 168 hours a week. What people are poor of, their focus poor. Their focus is scattered and changing. And focus is your most valuable resource, because focus is your energy, and you won't achieve very much without focus. But you need to know where and how to focus. And day 3 in particular will get you there. Now, the venue and accommodation, I love this spot. We often go here and have lunch and a few beers. So the Ramada Hotel and Conference Centre, it's Markoola Beach. If you fly into the Sunshine Coast, it's a stone's throw from the airport. If you end up flying into Brisbane, it's just about an hour 20 drive north of Brisbane, and it's a pretty relaxing place to be. And we're actually going to start each day of this masterclass for the first time ever at 10 a.m. Isabella and I went to a 6-day conference in Sydney a couple of months ago, and every day it started at 10. And we found it was brilliant because we could actually do something in the morning. We could recap, we could brainstorm, and being here, you could walk on the beach up to the river mouth. You could walk up to the top of Mount Coolum, which is an incredible thing to do, to watch the sun come up over the ocean. However you choose to spend those morning hours, you can sleep in if you want. We're going to start at 10 every day. Now, apologies, we've gone over time. Some technical glitches did that a little bit. And let me just see if we've got any questions waiting. If anyone's got anything they just want to ask, you can click raise hand now. But I can't see any raised hand. I'll keep my eye on it. So go to practiceparadox.com.au/masterclass. That'll then take you to the web page. So to secure your masterclass tickets for that super early bird, don't wait for early bird, and certainly don't wait for the normal price, and secure those tickets. And if you're a member, you get a discount code to save an additional 15% on. If you're thinking about becoming a member, just drop us an email to grow@practiceparadox.com.au. And if you're on the cusp of becoming a member anyway, you could sign up to part of what we do. Let's say implement a platform, and your 15% savings is going to pay for Implementer anyway. So now's a very good time if you're thinking about joining us at Masterclass to becoming a Paradox member with our services. Anyway, so recapping, things are changing. Marketing is digital. It involves data and pragmatism, but must be based on strategy. But you've got to use technology, and you can automate things because you're busy doing what you do. Your highest value time is spent doing things where the work stays done. And I'll come back to that in just a sec. And FaceTime with clients, FaceTime with prospective clients, FaceTime with referral partners, FaceTime with your team, coaching and mentoring. That, if you're a senior person in your firm, is your most valuable time. You shouldn't be messing about taking hours of your day loading up blog posts and social posts and email newsletters when you can outsource it to us. But if you do work that stays done, a great blog post that gets thousands of visits a month, you only ever write that once, but it works for you for many months thereon. So thanks for joining us for today. This masterclass will sell out. I look forward to seeing you and your team there. And let's make sure that in 2018, you absolutely smash it out of the park across market, sell, deliver, and take your business to that level where it's just right and delivering the lifestyle and the choices that you got into business in the first place to make. So bye for now, and we'll see you next webinar.